Hare Krishna. Om Timirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Hare Krishna. So we are discussing this important understanding which Narada Muni is trying to give King Prachini by explaining the story of Puranjana. So here he is trying to give this analogy. So the analogy starts basically the living entity is given the body and mind. So this is compared to uh, a wife for King Puranjana. So that is the intelligence with which he can enjoy this world. So that is the way of enjoying for a living entity. So it's Lord's arrangement for a living entity to enjoy. So then we discussed how Lord is providing. Then once you start identifying with the body, then you become that is false ego, and then there is pride. So this is actually what happens to the living entity. And then further, we have discussed. I'll just share the screen. So we'll just do a 2 minutes revision and then we'll go ahead. So here we have seen the living entity and the super soul he is operating, but because he identifies because of this emanation of I and mind, and he gets caught up with this body, and with this body, the living entity he is doing sense gratification. So that is the next level. He enjoy first. He is enjoying religiously, but then. He starts enjoying in a wrong way because of the pride, and he starts committing violence. So then, seventh and eighth verses they explain how he is doing in a wrong way, and it is said that you have to not stay on the mental platform. This we have discussed, and so how it is operated. So we are separate from the body. Super soul is operating. Direction is based on the modes, and based on the desires also. Connection between the soul and body is the false ego, and it turns into be pride also later on. Eventually a person he starts becoming proud. So then we see further. So to be regulated and not to be whimsical, we have to follow the scriptures. That means we have to do work in a conscious way so that you don't get entangled. Now, this living entity, he gets the association of a saintly person. So, because of which he will give up. So, he gives up his bad activities, and then he enters into a. He goes back to his palace, and king becomes very tired. So, this is because his man becomes sinful because of ignorance. Also, this also we discussed why a person becomes sinful is because of his ignorance, lack of knowledge. This we have discussed yesterday. So we need proper knowledge, and suffering is not because of situation, but because of lack of knowledge. So we will not be sinful, and then materially we can be prosperous also. Mind will be peaceful, and this knowledge will make our buddhi also strong, and which will make us happy. So that was our yesterday's discussion. And then reasons for sinful life is suffering and lack of knowledge. This is sambandha jnana. So if I am enjoying, why I need a break? But that type of enjoyment is not real enjoyment. So that also we need to understand. The real enjoyment is not in mode of passion and ignorance. That should be in mode of goodness. So if a passion and ignorance, we always need a break. So this also we discussed. The enjoyment which comes in passion and ignorance. People they are enjoying party and then they want a break. If you are enjoying, why you need a break? Because that is in lower modes. That's the thing. And then the queen is considered to be buddhi. And then very interesting thing is he started searching for the queen. He's trying to understand real knowledge. So Kung Puranjana search out his better half, the queen, one who is decorated with knowledge and instructions from saintly persons, should try to search out his original consciousness. So this is the understanding. And then then Prabhupada is telling not to have a luxurious food and which will make our mind agitated and senses agitated. We have to be this atyahara prayasa. We should be avoiding this. And then next, King Puranjana was little anxious and he inquired about from the household wife. So this is another important thing. So what happens is then we start inquiring. So this inquiring Prabhupada is comparing with thinking, feeling, and willing. So how we are working on our thinking, feeling, and willing. So this is the another aspect Prabhupada is trying to explain, that we start changing ourselves when we get proper knowledge. So the sane man should consult his mind, its thinking, feeling, and willing process, and decide how these processes should be utilized. So, this is the important thing. So, although King was refreshed, he nonetheless inquired about his wife. Thus, he was consulting, thinking, and willing how he could return to his steady good consciousness. So we discussed yesterday, the change of heart means there should be change in thinking, feeling, and willing. Then only we can say it is change of heart. So here the king's heart is changed. How this happened? Because of saintly association. So because of saintly association, his heart changed. That's why he started thinking, feeling, willing, and all these things came. And then then the next thing is uh, then he says that he feels that I do not understand why my household paraphernalia does not attract me before. I think that if there is neither a mother nor a devoted wife at home, the home is like a chariot without wheels. Where is the fool who will sit down on such a unworkable chariot? So Prabhupada here makes this point that a woman is supposed to be the energy of man. So historically, in the background of every man, there is either mother or a wife, and a household life is very successful if he has both wife and mother. So that's the point Prabhupada makes, and then. Of course, these are very important, valuable discussions. Prabhupada says that whatever I want to tell, I have written in my books. That's why we have to very carefully try to understand what Prabhupada is trying to explain. So he's telling whatever I want to tell, I have already said in the books. So these are things which Prabhupada want to share with us. Then kindly let me know the whereabouts of that beautiful woman who always saves me when I am drowning in the ocean of danger by giving me good intelligence at every step. She always saves me. So, Prabhupada writing, there is no, maybe we can complete this chapter today. There is no difference between a good wife and good intelligence. So, this is the most important point. There is no difference between good wife and good intelligence. That means we need proper counseling all the time. And if a wife is Krishna conscious or she is dharmic, then it makes so much difference for the people. This is a dharmic wife. So she that person is fortunate. So the girls are trained to be dharmic by the parents. So that is the training they are given. So then automatically the husband, if he is very learned and whatever standards he learned properly in Gurukul and all, and he gets married, then the woman, she just have to be dharmic. That's all. She just have to obedient, and the husband will tell her these are the things. Immediately it starts following. So husband should be and should be he should be learned. So then what happens? This is sufficient. He will teach her and she will make sure that the standards are followed. She will not let him come back. So we have this, what do you say, mm, in the motors we have. So when you have this, walls will be there. So the wall in such a way, like say you have a tank inside under the ground, and you are putting a motor and you are sucking the water. Now when you switch on, the water comes up, and now when you switch off, the water don't go back into the tank. It will block it. The wall is like that. It is only one way wall. So similarly here, when you give wife something and you set the standard, you cannot take back. She will remind you, and she says, "This is the standard. How can you go back?" So in that way, the husband is protected. The man is protected. He will teach her, but the tendency for man is always goes back. But women don't let, because she's dharmic. So that's why she's no difference between good wife and good intelligence. That's why Prabhupada is telling one who possesses good intelligence can deliberate properly and save himself from many dangerous conditions. In material existence, there is danger at every step. Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said, Padam Padam Yat Vipadam. This material world is not actually a place of residence for an intelligent person or a devotee, because there is danger at every step. Vaikunta is the real home. So there is, Prabhupada is telling, we need always protection. So we need good intelligence can deliberate properly and save himself from dangers. So why it is? So good intelligence. What is the protection? If you have good deliberation, this is the most important thing. Deliberate properly. Vaikuntha is real home, for there is no anxiety and no danger. Good intelligence means becoming Krishna conscious. So in Chaitanya Charitamrita it is said, Krishna e bhaje se bada chatur. Unless one is Krishna conscious, he cannot be called an intelligent person. Herein we see that King Puranjana was searching after his good wife, who always helped him out of dangerous situations that always occurred in material existence. So that's why it is said, the Prabhupada, wife is Dharma Patni. That is, a woman accepts in marriage by ritualist ceremony is called Dharma Patni, which signifies that she is accepted in terms of religious principles. And children born on Dharmapatri are women married according to religious principles, inherit the property of the father, but children born of a woman who is not properly married do not inherit the father's property. The word Dharmapatni also refers to chaste wife. A chaste wife is one who never had any connection with man before marriage. Once a woman is given the freedom to mingle with all kinds of men in her youth, it is very difficult for her to keep chaste. Such she generally cannot remain chaste. When butter is brought into the proximity of fire, it melts. The woman is like fire and man is like the butter. But if one gets a chaste wife, accepts through the religious marriage, she can be of great help when one is threatened by many dangerous situations in life. Actually, such a wife can become the source of all good intelligence. With such a good wife, a family's engagement in the devotional service of the Lord actually makes a home, graha ashrama. So here, so this is the reason which we have discussed about how having a good wife will help. So now here, uh, all the women address the king. Uh, Ramam Vacha Naranathana Janam sa tat priya yad vyavasyati bhutale niravastare shayanam pashya shatruhan. All the women address the king, O master of the citizens. We do not know why your dear wife have taken on this sort of ex- existence. O killer of enemy, kindly look. She is lying on the ground without bedding. We cannot understand why she is acting in this way. So Prabhupada is writing, when a person is devoid of devotional service or Vishnu Bhakti, he takes to many sinful activities. King Puranjana left home, neglected his own wife, and engaged himself in killing animals. This is the position of all materialistic men. They do not care for a married chaste wife. They take the wife only as an instrument of sense enjoyment, not as a means of devotional service. This is a very important point. So, for presently, for people, uh, they take wife only as instrument of sense gratification, not for means or devotional service. That means because there is training in Gurukul, so that will make it so much change because he don't go for enjoyment. This training will make him responsible. Responsible for what? Responsible for human life. Human life is responsibility, not sense gratification. So even if he enters into grihasthashram, that is for to do service only. He wanted to render service and make his life perfect. So to have unrestricted sex life, the karmis work very hard. They have concluded that the best course is to have sex with any woman and simply pay the price for her, as though she were a mercantile commodity. Thus, they engage their energy in working very hard for such material acquisitions. Such materialistic people have lost their good intelligence. They must search out their intelligence within heart. A person who does not have such a chaste wife, accept by religious principles, always have a bewildered intelligence. And this is actually what is happening to the most of people. They think that is the purpose of life. And women is also not very dharmic. They are also equally interested in sense gratification. So they are interested, okay, how much this fellow will give me facilities, money, and all the other things. And then he is also okay. I will give it, and I also enjoy. So both of them they are into outright enjoyment. The wife of King Puranjana was lying on the ground because she was neglected by her husband. Actually, the woman must always be protected by her husband. We always speak of goddesses of fortune as being placed on the chest of Narayana. In other words, the wife must remain embraced by her husband. Thus, she becomes beloved and well protected. Just as one saves his money and places it under his own personal protection, one should similarly protect his wife by his own personal supervision, just as intelligence is always within the heart, so the beloved chaste wife should always have her place on the chest of good husband. Prabhupada is talking about ideal situations. This is a proper relationship between husband and wife. A wife is therefore called Ardhamini, or half of the body. One cannot remain with one leg, only with one leg, one hand, or only one side of the body. He must have two sides. Similarly, according to nature's way, husband and wife should live together. In the lower species of life, among birds and animals, it is seen that by nature's arrangement, the husband and wife live together. The birds, no, they have couple, they are born like that and then they just live like that. It is similarly ideal in human life for a husband and wife to live together. A home should be placed for devotional service and wife should be chaste and accepted by ritualistic ceremonies. In this way, one can become happy at home. So this is the I don't have much comments on it because you can understand. So Narada Muni he further says that the great sage Narada continued, my dear King Purachini Barhi, as soon as King Puranjana saw his queen lying on the ground, appearing like a mendicant, he immediately became bewildered. In this verse, the word Avadhutam is especially significant, for it refers to a mendicant who does not take care of his body. Since the queen was lying on the ground without bedding and proper dress, King Puranjana became very much aggrieved. In other words, he repented that he had neglected his intelligence and has engaged himself in forest in killing animals. So here, for us, the killing animals is we are just engaged in sense gratification without without giving any heed to proper spiritual practice. So engage in sense gratification without practicing Krishna conscious. So this we all, before coming to Krishna consciousness, we are all hunting only. Here hunting means we are taking our senses and going around trying to get some pleasure. That's what is hunting. And now we came back and then we are seeing our intelligence is almost like the wife of King Puranjana. So in other words, when one's good intelligence is separate or neglected, he fully engages in sinful activities. So this is actually what is happening. If we neglect our good intelligence, we engage in sinful activities. And most of the people around whom we are seeing, they are doing that only, engaging in sinful activities. Right. Due to neglecting one's intelligence or Krishna conscious, one becomes bewildered, engaged in sinful activities. Upon realizing this, a man becomes repentant. Such repentance is described by Narottam Das Thakur. Hari Hari Vifale Janama Gunainu Manusya Janamapaya Radha Krishna Nabhajiya Janiya Suniya Vishakaino. Narottam Das Thakur here it says that he repents for having spoiled his human life and knowingly drunk poison by not being Krishna conscious. One willingly drinks the poison of material life. The purport is that one certainly becomes addicted to sinful activities when he becomes devoid of his good chaste wife, or when he is lost his good sense and does not take Krishna consciousness. That great king with aggrieved mind began to speak with his wife with very pleasing words, although he was filled with regret and tried to pacify her. He could not see any symptoms of anger caused by love within the heart of his beloved wife. So this is another important thing. Prabhupada writes, the king was very much regretted having left his queen and having gone to the forest to execute sinful activities. So we all came back to our intelligence after reading Prabhupada books and associating with devotees. When a person regrets his sinful activities, the abandoning of Krishna conscious and good intelligence, his path of deliverance from the path of metal clutches is opened. As stated in Bhagavatam, Parabhavasthavadabodhayate yavanna jignasa atma tattvaha. When a person loses his Krishna consciousness, loses interest in self-realization, he must engage in sinful activities. All one's activities in a life devoid of Krishna consciousness simply lead to defeat and misuse of one's life. Naturally, one who comes to Krishna consciousness regret his previous life activities in the human form. Only by this process can one be delivered from the clutches of nescience or ignorance. So the next verse it says that because the king was very expert in flattery, he began to pacify his queen very slowly. First, he touched her 2 feet, then embraced her nicely, sitting her on his lap, and began to speak as follows. One has to awaken his Krishna consciousness by first regretting his past deeds. Just as King Purujana began to flatter his queen, one should be deliberate consideration, raise himself to platform Krishna conscious. To attain such an end, one must touch the feet of the spiritual master. So Prabhupada gives such a nice comparison. First, what should we do? Sri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma Bandhamohi Sabhadanamate. One must touch the lotus feet of spiritual master. Krishna consciousness cannot be achieved by self endeavor. One must approach a self realized Krishna conscious person, touch his lotus feet. Prahlad Maharaj says, नैषामतिस्तावत् रुक्रमाङ्ग्रे स्पृहन्तनन्त उपगमो इत्यर्थ महीयशां पादरजोऽभिषेकं निष्किञ्चनानां निमणीतयावत्. So one cannot come to practice of Krishna consciousness unless he touches the dust of the lotus feet of a person who has become a Mahatma, a great devotee. So this is the formula. We have to take shelter of Guru, and it is very pleasing actually. If you go take shelter of Guru, You will feel such a soothing. That is not a material thing, it's a spiritual one. It comes in the heart. You feel that shelter in the heart. That is very important. When we go to Guru, we should feel the shelter in the heart. Okay, I am now protected in the heart. Material protection are there. I have my wealth, I have my house, I have my property, friends, relatives. That is all material protection. What protection we need? Na? Protection in the heart we should feel. The soul should feel. So that happens when we go properly take shelter of Guru. So in the beginning of the surrendering process, Krishna wants everyone to surrender unto him. Thus, surrendering process begins when one touches the lotus feet of bona fide spiritual master. So when Guru is speaking, that is our shelter. The words of Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitte Te Koryakya. By sincerely rendering service to a bona fide spiritual master, one begins his spiritual life in Krishna consciousness. Touching the lotus feet of spiritual master means giving up one's false prestige and unnecessarily puffed up position in the middle world. This is very important. So when we are taking initiation, what we get? We get a name. What is the name? You are Das or Dasi. So that means what Guru is doing? Touching the feet of spiritual master is not just literal. Literal it is also there, but along with that, one's false prestige, unnecessarily puffed up position in the metal world. So very important. People, it's not just external. So it surrender means we were discussing na, that yajna. Indra is called uh, uh, in Jata Veda. He knows the purpose of yajna. When you know the purpose of yajna, you get benefited. So what Krishna wants yajna means we have to sacrifice our ego. So here surrender to Guru means we are sacrificing, give up our false prestige, unnecessarily puffed position. Those who remain in darkness of material existence due to their false prestigious positions, so-called scientists and philosophers, are actually atheistic. They do not know the ultimate cause of everything. Although bewildered, they are not ready to surrender themselves to the lotus feet of a person who knows things in their proper perspective. In other words, one cannot arouse Krishna consciousness simply by his own mental speculation. One must surrender to a bona fide spiritual master. Only this process will help. So, such a important point Prabhupada is making. What exactly is touching the lotus feet? Then Puranjana, he says, my dear wife, when a master accepts a servant as his own man but does not punish him for his offense, the servant must consider it unfortunate. I will see what Prabhupada has to say for this. According to Vedic civilization, domestic animals and servants are treated exactly like one's own children. Animals and children are sometimes punished, not out of vengeance, but out of love. Similarly, a master sometimes punishes his servant, not out of vengeance, but out of love, to correct him and bring him to the right point. Thus, King Puranjana took his punishment dealt by his wife, the queen, as mercy upon him. He considered himself the most obedient servant of the queen. She was angry at him for his sinful activities, namely hunting in animals and leaving her at home. King Puranjana accepted the punishment as actual love and affection from his wife. In the same way, when a person is punished by the laws of nature, by the will of God, he should not be disturbed. Wow, such a nice point. What Prabhupada is telling. So, as Puranjana accepted punishment as actual love and affection. So, this is what he is understanding. So, King Puranjana is accepting it as actual love and affection. Similarly, we should also, when material nature it punishes. In the same way, when a person is punished by laws of nature by the will of God, he should not be disturbed. A real devotee thinks when a devotee is put into awkward position, he takes it as mercy of Supreme Lord. Tattenu kampa susamikshamano bhunjanyevatmakatam vipakam हित्वा नृपुर्भिर्विदधं namaste जीवेतयो muktipade sadaya bhav. So this verse states that a devotee accepts a reversal of his position in life as a benediction of the Lord and consequently offers the Lord more obeisances and prayers, thinking the punishment is due to his pure past misdeeds, and the Lord's punishment is very mildly. The punishment awarded by the state or by the God's own God for one's own fault is actually one's benefit. So in Manu Samhita it is said that a king should be considered merciful when he condemns a murderer to death, because a murderer punished in this life becomes free from his sinful activity in the next life, takes but clears all his sins. If one accepts punishment as reward dealt by master, he becomes intelligent enough not to commit the same mistake. So if you accept punishment, most important thing, as a reward dealt by master, he becomes intelligent. So if we want to awaken intelligence, we have to accept that okay, this is actually what is my punishment for my sinful deeds, so let me not do it again. So that is Prabhupada is telling here. And then, my dear slandered maiden, when a master chastises his servant, the servant should accept this as great mercy. One who becomes angry must be very foolish not to know that such is the duty of his friend. It is said that when a foolish man is instructed in something very nice, he generally cannot accept it. Indeed, he becomes angry. Such anger is compared to the position of a serpent. For when a serpent is fed milk and bananas, its poison actually increases. Instead of becoming merciful or sober, the serpent increases its poison venom when fed nice foodstuff. Similarly, when a fool is instructed, he does not rectify himself but actually becomes angry. So, one who becomes angry, so a servant should accept such a great mercy. One who becomes angry must be foolish. So, this is the foolishness of most of the people. They don't understand what is the truth. And my dear wife, your teeth are very beautifully set, and your attractive features make you appear very thoughtful. Kindly give up your anger, be merciful upon me, and please smile upon me with long, loving attachment. When I see a smile on your beautiful face, and when I see your hair, which is as beautiful as the color blue, and see your raised nose and hear your sweet talk, you will become more beautiful to me and thus attract me and oblige me. You are my most respected mistress. So here, an effem- effeminate husband, simply being attracted to the external beauty of his wife, try to become her most obedient servant. Sripad Shankaracharya. Prabhupada is going to give very heavy things. Sripad Shankaracharya has therefore advised that we not become attracted by a lump of flesh and blood. The story is told that at one time a man very much attracted to a beautiful woman over the woman in such a way that she devised a plan to show him the ingredients of her beauty. The woman made a date to see him, and before seeing him, she took a prerogative, and the whole day and night she simply passed stool, and she preserved the stool in a pot. The next night, when the man came to see her, she appeared very ugly and emaciated. When the man inquired from him about the woman with whom she had engagement, she replied, I am the very woman. The man refused to believe her, not knowing that she has lost all her beauty due to the violent prerogatives that caused her to pass stool day and night. When the man began to argue with her, the woman said that she was not looking beautiful because she has separated from the ingredients of her beauty. When the man asked how she could be separated, the woman said, come on, I will show you. She then showed him the pot filled with liquid stool and vomit. When the man became aware that a beautiful woman is simply a lump of matter composed of blood, stool, urine, and similar other disgusting ingredients. This is actual fact. But in a state of illusion, man becomes attracted by illusory beauty and becomes victim of Maya. So, Prabhupada is very heavy. King Puranjana begged the queen to return to her original beauty. He tried to revive her just as a living entity tries to revive his original original consciousness. Krishna consciousness, which is very beautiful. All the beautiful features of the king could be compared to the beautiful features of Krishna consciousness. When one returns to his original Krishna consciousness, he actually becomes steady and his life becomes successful. And so then what happens is, oh, hero's wife, kindly tell me if someone has offended you. I am prepared to give such a person punishment as long as he does not belong to the Brahmin caste. So here also, even though you want to punish, but he's conscious that he said, if not Brahmana, then only I'll punish. But for the servant of Murari, Krishna, I excuse no one within or beyond the three worlds. No one can freely move after offending you, for I am prepared to punish you. So even the devotees and Brahmanas, he said, I am not going to touch. So Prabhupada is writing, according to Vedic civilization, a Brahmana or one who is properly qualified to understand the absolute truth, one belongs to the most intelligent social order, as well as the devotee of Lord, who is known as Muradbisha, enemy of the demon named Mura, is not subjected to rules and regulations of the state. So they cannot be punished with the king. So, in other words, upon breaking the laws of state, everyone can be punished by the government except Brahmanas and Vaishnavas. Brahmanas and Vaishnavas never transgress the laws of the state or laws of nature because they know perfectly well the resultant reactions caused by such law breaking. Even though they may sometimes appear to violate the laws, they are not to be punished by the king. This instruction was given to King Prachani Barshad by Narada Muni. King Puranjana was representative of King Prachani Barshi, and Narada Muni was reminding King Prachani Barshi of his forefathers. Maharaj Prithu, who never chastise a Brahmana or a Vaishnava on one's pure intelligence or pure Krishna consciousness, become polluted by material activity. Pure consciousness can be revived by process of sacrifice, charity, pious activities. So this is important point. So pure consciousness can be revived by the process of sacrifice, charity, and pious activities. But when one pollutes his Krishna consciousness by offending Brahmanas, Vaishnavas, it is very difficult to revive. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has described Vaishnava aparadh, uh, or offense to a Vaishnava, as mad elephant offense. One should be very careful not to offend a Vaishnava or a Brahmana. Even the great yogi Durvasa were harassed by Sudarshan Chakra when he offended Ambrish Maharaj. So the conclusion is that if Krishna consciousness is covered by material sin, one can eliminate the sin simply by chanting Hare Krishna. But if one pollutes his Krishna consciousness by offending a Brahmanas or Vaishnavas, one cannot revive it until one properly atones for the sin by pleasing the offended Vaishnava or Brahmana. This was the course of Durvasa Muni he had to follow, for he surrendered upon Maharaj Ambarish. Vaishnava Prad cannot be atoned by any other means other than by begging pardon to the offended Vaishnava. So, very important instruction. Actually, we have too much shlokas. We will take about Vaishnava Prad in next section because that is very important. I will. There are many important points to discuss, but we'll just complete this verse now. My dear wife, until the last day, uh, I have never seen you face without tilak decoration, nor have I seen you so morose. And actually, I'll tell one story. This is a very important story about Vaishnava. There is Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur's disciple. He is a very elevated Vaishnava, and he's he was very learned actually, and he was knowing all Bhagavad Gita 700 shlokas, all almost 18,000 shlokas of Bhagavatam, Vedant Sutras 500 verses, most of the Upanishads. So he was such a learned, and he's a very no, very close disciple of Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur. I will just tell the name. So what happened is he actually could see. He only told what is the swarup of Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur. He could he entered into trance, and he could see Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, and he came and he clarified with Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, is this you are this Swarupa, is this I saw you in the spiritual world? And Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur said yes. So and so he was such a very exalted personality. If you take his what do you say, we are not even 1% of what he have achieved. And whenever Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur used to give any classes, so Ananta Vasudev is name. So whenever Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur used to give some class, and suddenly he wanted a verse, he immediately told to Ananta Vasudev, and he used to tell the verse also immediately. So that much he was. But what happened when Gaudiya Math got split, and then there are two parties, Ananta Vasudev and other. So then there was always a fight, and all the money they sold properties, and they started fighting in the court. And it is said that he started committing Vaishnava Aparadh. And then he started writing books which were, and he did not even acknowledge the Guru. And who was, uh, and then what happened is he broke up with the other temples and all, and he took from initiation from Babaji, Narathi Kundali Babaji something, and he created Apasampradaya. Yes, and he started even blaspheming his own guru. And it is said that in the end he committed suicide and died. No, very long back, maybe 90 years back, I think. This 80 years back, this happened. So the point is, see, such a exalted person. But when Vaishnav committed, even we are not, we cannot be even counted only what achievements he made. And then because of Vaishnav he fell from that position. So that is the danger. We cannot take any chance. So he is such a exalted personality that he saw Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur's spiritual form. Can you imagine? And in terms of knowledge, he learned all the Upanishads he knows almost by heart, and Vedant Sutra he knows, Bhagavatam he knows, and Bhagavad Gita he knows. Knowledge-wise, no less. And then in spiritual realization also no less. But still, Vaishnava Prad is so dangerous. So that is the point. So then Puranjana says, my dear wife, until this day I have never seen your face without tilak decoration, nor have I seen you so morose and without lustre or affection, nor have I seen your two nice breasts wet with tears from your eyes, nor have ever before seen your lips, which are ordinarily as red as bimba fruit without their reddish hue. Prabhupada said, every woman looks very beautiful when decorated with tilak and vernimelon. A woman generally becomes very attractive when her lips are colored with reddish saffron and vernimelon. But when one's consciousness and intelligence are without any brilliant thoughts about Krishna, they become more morose and lusterless. So, more much so that one cannot derive any benefit despite sharp intelligence. And the last verse is that My dear king, due to my sinful desires, I went to the forest to hunt without asking you. Therefore, I must admit that I offended you. Nonetheless, thinking of me as your most intimate subordinate, you should still be very much pleased with me. Factually, I am very much uh, bereaved, but being pierced by arrows of Cupid, I am feeling lusty. But where is the beautiful woman who would give up her lusty husband and refuse to unite with him? So both man and woman, Abba writes very heavy here also. Both man and woman desire one another. This is the basic principle of material existence. Women in general always keeps themselves beautiful so that they can be attractive to their lusty husbands. When a lusty husband comes before his wife, the wife takes advantage of his aggressive actions and enjoys life. Generally, when a woman is attacked by a man, whether her husband or some other man, she enjoys the attack being so lusty. In other words, when one's intelligence is properly utilized, both the intelligence and intelligent person enjoy one another with great satisfaction. Yen maitunadi grahamedi sukam hitucham. The actual happiness of karmis is sex life. They work very hard outside the home, and to satiate their hard labor, they come home to enjoy sex life. King Puranjana went to the forest to hunt, and after his hard labor, he returned uh, to home to enjoy sex life. If a man lives outside the home and spends a week in a city or somewhere else, at the end of the week he becomes very anxious to return home and enjoy sex life with his wife. This is confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam. Yen maitunadi grahamedi sukam hitucham. Karmis work very hard to enjoy. So modern human society has improved the materialistic way of life simply by indulging unrestricted sex life in many different ways. This is the most prominently visible in Western worlds. Thus, in the Bhaktivedanta Purport of 4th Canto, 26th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam entitled King Puranjana goes to forest to hunt and his queen becomes angry. Okay, any questions, comments? Okay, why chastity is always connected to women? Because that gives her the control of mind and it helps her to uh, focus nicely. So that is because women need not be chaste. That is only training given to her. She can go with any man because she has that ability to satisfy. She can go with any man. But then they are told, no, 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 be chaste. So it is helpful for women. So that is the only training that is given. And that's why shyness is given to women to protect her, to make her remain chaste. So women, shyness is the protection for women. So she cannot do what man is doing. Otherwise, she can happily enjoy and do many things. That is what is happening in modern world. Women is losing their shyness. That is very dangerous. Woman. That is a protection so that she can remain chaste and her mind will be controlled. Okay, we'll end here. Uh, Thank you all very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Hare Krishna.